Welcome to the Regular People Podcast. I'm Wade Allen, and today I'm having a conversation with Adrianne Pintar.
Hi.
Yeah, she's actually my girlfriend. We live together. So, I guess I already know a lot of this stuff, but for the sake of the listener, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself? Who you are, what you do, how you've changed over the past few years, anything like that.
Well, in case anyone is curious, me and Wade met in high school.
Yeah.
How many years ago did we graduate?
Graduated in 2013.
Yeah. So after that, I went to college, pretty much the standard four-year college experience, and got a degree. And
What'd you get a degree in?
Journalism, Advertising, and Media Studies.
Otherwise known as JAMS.
JAMS.
Which is the more fun way to say it, I think.
Yeah, but no one knows what JAMS means.
Yeah, that's true.
And I basically immediately from graduating began working in exactly that field and have worked at that place
At a jam
since.
making factory, right?
At an advertising agency, actually. When I first graduated, I thought, this is the coolest shit. I work at an ad agency. I don't know. I think there's something like glamorous about that a little bit. Maybe it's just because of Mad Men, but I think it was thought of as a cool job to have, so I felt lucky that I got it.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. So I think we're gonna be talking about MLMs a bit today and other things. MLMs, if you're not aware, are multi-level marketing schemes. And do you want to give some examples of those companies?
So many MLMs. It's actually pronounced
Herbalife,
doTERRA.
doTERRA.
I hate that I know that.
Sells essential oils. Herbalife sells, what do they sell?
Like
shakes?
Nutritional supplements, shakes.
Yeah, Young Living.
Young Living is also oils. LuLaRoe, badly made leggings and other clothes.
Pampered Chef used to be one.
I think they still are in a weird way. Kind of like Tupperware is in a weird way. Like, why would anyone ever buy Tupperware or Pampered Chef from an MLM consultant when you could just get it in the store? Which is really how I feel about all of these companies. Why would you just not buy it from the store?
Well, do a lot of these things, are they sold in stores?
Yes. Well, these exact products from these companies are not sold in stores.
Well, yeah.
But
A different company making the same thing.
right.
Yeah.
It's just a different brand, exact
Vector,
same product.
Vector knives. Anyway,
oh boy.
So first though, how do you come to care about MLMs? What was your first exposure to them?
I think my first exposure to them is probably the same way most girls that I know have been exposed to them, and that's at a teenager at a quote-unquote party. And you don't realize that it's an MLM, and then years later you're like, that's what that was. I had a friend in high school who her mom was selling, I believe the company is Jamberry, and it's like nail wraps, like nail stickers. And she invited us all to come over to her house, and there was like some weird presentation, and my friend was like, yeah, I'm going to become a consultant and sell these wraps. And I was like, okay, I didn't quite get it at the time. I didn't realize that it was like a business pitch. I think it was more for the moms to like try and get the daughters to tell their moms about it and sign up. The whole experience was just super weird.
Wait, it was a party with your friends. Did you bring your mom?
She told us to bring our moms.
Oh.
It was not fun. They call them parties. They are not parties.
So it's you and a bunch of other teenagers bringing your moms to somebody's house talking about nail wraps?
Yes. Well, me and my other friends didn't really want to talk about nail wraps. We were kind of talking about things that we wanted to talk about. And then...
Did, like, you guys have the moms in one room, daughters in another? Like,
no, we were all in the same room.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Did anybody buy any, or was there any selling going on in that party?
I don't remember. I certainly didn't buy anything. Maybe my mom did. Who knows? Actually, I think my mom did. Because I remember having some Jamberry wraps, and I don't know where else I would have got them aside from that party.
That's the annoying and kind of sinister thing about it, is you have this party with your friends, and you kind of pressure them, guilt them, make them feel awkward. Like, if they don't buy from you, they don't like you or something.
Yeah.
They're not supporting their friend. So you feel like if you go to one of these parties, you don't realize it's going to be that. So you show up just thinking you're going to hang out with Stacy. And then Stacy wants you to buy her Herbalife supplements.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel like if you say no to her, you're being a bad friend. So you have to buy them.
Yeah. It's annoying. And MLMs are well known, obviously, for isolating you from your friends and family, and the community within MLMs pretends to be like this happy, like, you should join the company to make friends. We're all girl boss sisters in a community of togetherness and so much fun. But through gaining those, perhaps you could call them new friends, maybe, you're losing your friends and family in real life because they are encouraging you to constantly sell to them.
Yeah, you're badgering them so much that you push them away, basically, because nobody's going to want to constantly be buying your product.
And you don't have a choice.
They're not going to want to become your downline, so you have a choice, don't you?
Well, your choice of, if you sign up for the company, there is only two groups of people you can sell to, your friends and your family.
Yeah, it's either annoy your friends and family until they stop wanting to talk to you or leave the company.
Right. Because you can't sell to strangers effectively.
That's not a thing? Like online sales to people that they don't know?
Well, actually, I kind of take that back, because any female listening, I suspect, has gotten a message on Facebook from someone who you would consider to be a stranger now, but maybe knew years ago, or the classic, I went to high school with this girl, but we haven't talked in 7 years, and she sent me a message saying, hey babe, haven't talked to you in a while, but I just wanted to talk about this great new opportunity that I think you'd be a perfect fit for. And you're like, we spoke one time years ago. So I guess that is kind of considered like strangers.
Yeah. I wonder if they just send that to everyone, or if they actually choose, like, oh, this person that I went to high school with, they would be a perfect fit. Because I was thinking, if that's the case, then that's like a huge insult. Like, you'd be a perfect fit for this scheme. Like, you're not smart enough to see past this bullshit.
True.
So, I've had a few messages of people that I used to work with. Like, some guy from Vector Knives was like, hey, your ex-coworker from this company told me that you would be a great fit for Vector salesman. And I didn't respond because I don't want to sell knives door to door and not make any money.
Yeah. Well, it's not door to door like you'd think. And Vector is probably my second and an MLM experience that made a larger impact on me, because I lived with a girl for 2 years and she worked at Vector. And I thought that it was a door-to-door sales company because I had heard of it before being described that way.
Well, wasn't that
but
what
she never
was
went
doing?
door-to-door.
Oh, she didn't? Okay.
No.
What did she do then?
Shortly after we met, she told me that she worked at this place, and she asked, like, hey, can I do my sales pitch to your parents?
Oh.
And I didn't really care, and my parents were like, well, she just let you move in with her, so sure, fine. And she did the sales pitch to my parents. They were not interested in buying, and at the end of the sales pitch, I was actually there when she was pitching, and by pitching, I mean she was reading straight from a book. Oh. And at the end of the pitch, she said, okay, well, if you're not interested in buying, please give me some contacts who you know. So it was all, like, through reference.
Yeah. So
they were like, she asked my parents to write down a list of their 20 closest friends and family. And they were like, how about, like, 2? Who could give a list of, like, 20 contacts of, like, sure, I don't mind if you hit up all of these people saying, yeah, Mike and Laura Pintar sent you. Ugh. Yeah. My parents felt really awkward about it afterwards.
Well, I mean, was that one of her first times pitching? Because maybe...
No.
Oh. I was going to say, maybe she was just practicing.
No.
She had
been in it for a while by then.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, first I think, before we continue talking about MLMs, why don't you describe, like, the structure of an MLM? What makes it an MLM?
There's a few characteristics. One being that the product is sold directly through people. It's not available in stores in almost all cases, Tupperware being an exception, but a majority of the time you buy the products from a direct sales consultant, is what I believe they call themselves. And their job is to either try and make money by selling the products or by recruiting people into their downline. And then if their downline makes money by selling products or creating a downline, then you get a cut.
Isn't one of the major factors that makes it an MLM is the fact that you, as a representative of that company, have to buy the products that you're going to sell?
You do have to buy the products that you're
Because
going to
otherwise,
sell.
you're just a salesman, and that's fine. You're just selling stuff to a company.
Yeah.
But with an MLM, you actually, if it's for Vector, don't you have to purchase the knives yourself? And then if you don't sell them, you just lost money?
You do have to purchase the knives yourself. I think when you first start, at least at Vector in particular, they give you a couple. I don't know if they give you a full set, but they give you some that are for the purpose of demonstrating when you're pitching with people.
Isn't another thing that makes an MLM the fact that you don't actually get regular paychecks?
Correct. It's all commission based, and there are plenty of jobs out there that are commission based, which is in theory fine, but
are there though? I mean, I know there are jobs that have commission as part of the job, but for instance, if you are
salary plus commission.
Yeah, if you're a car salesman at a car lot, you make commission, but you also make regular earnings.
Right.
And then an MLM is only commission.
I think it varies by MLM, but most of them I believe are commission only.
Right. So then the thing that makes it multi-level marketing is the fact that you're trying to create a downline or a subordinate.
And that's what makes it a pyramid scheme, actually. I know they'll always argue the difference between MLM being a direct sales company rather than a pyramid scheme. But pyramid scheme is when you're no longer relying on selling the products. You're relying on making money only through bringing other people into the business underneath you. Yeah. And that's where you're getting your primary income. That's when it's truly a pyramid scheme because there's no more product transaction.
Right. So with an MLM, it's like if you manage to actually acquire a downline and they purchase their first product because they have to in order to sell stuff, some of that purchase money goes to you as their upline or whatever, their boss.
Upline, yep.
Yeah. And then, but you yourself have an upline, and it goes up and up this pyramid-shaped scheme to the very top, where the CEO is making the vast majority of the money. Mm-hmm. And I know that's the case with all companies. The CEO is making the vast majority of the money, but in MLM, it's especially so. Like in MLM, it's like the CEO is making millions of dollars, and everyone else is making $2 a paycheck.
Right. If you look at their income disclosure statements, which they are legally required to provide, it shows the breakdown of how many people are in the company at the base level, what they're making a month, then at the next level, what they're making a month. And like the first 5 levels of all these companies, the people are making at most $100 a month. If I had to
mean
take
like
a stab
the bottom levels?
Like the bottom 5 levels.
Yeah.
And that's where 95 of the employees are.
95% of the employees?
Yeah, 95%.
Yeah. Yeah, there might be some actual real administrative positions in a company like Herbalife where they have a salary.
Like if you work at the headquarters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you work in that condition, then you have a legitimate job, although you work at a illegitimate company. But then everyone else, these direct sales representatives who they're relying on to exploit money out of, they are not making much. In most cases, not making enough to actually pay their bills.
97% of people who get involved in MLM companies do not make any money at all or lose money. I think that's from the, what is that agency? The government agency.
FCC?
Yes.
Commission?
FTC.
FTC.
Yes.
Federal Trade Commission or something?
Yes, FTC.
Oh, okay.
And there are other stats like that by other reputable companies that have done research into people who get involved with MLMs, and pretty much the only way that you can make money, enough money to sustain yourself in an MLM, is if you get in at the beginning.
Yeah, you get in the beginning, or just like a Ponzi scheme or like pyramid scheme, it requires rapid growth where you need to have an ever increasing amount of downlines in order for that person to make money. So then if you are a person who just signed up, you need to create a certain amount of downlines in order to be profitable. And then your downlines need to create a certain amount more downlines. And it gets to the point where if everybody involved in this company wants to actually make any money off of it, you don't have that many people in the world to do that.
Right.
Because every layer down, you need more and more people to
Mm-hmm.
become part of the company, and it's just not feasible.
Just all of the business practices make absolutely no sense. Like, if you have a friend who is selling essential oils and they want you to sell them too, then assuming you have mutual friends, who are they going to go to get their oils from? It's almost like you're creating more sellers in the marketplace that are necessary. Like, you don't have a hard time finding this product if you want to buy it, because all of these friends, they all sell it now.
Yeah, it kind of relies on a complete misunderstanding of like market forces, like supply and demand.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't work when everybody's a salesman for the same thing.
Yes, exactly.
Like, then what are you selling anymore? Like,
it's just in abundance. Like, if you live in Utah, you probably know like 10 people who are selling the exact same MLM product.
Yeah. And this is something that like drug dealers know very well. Like, that's why there's turf wars and stuff, because there can only be so many drug dealers on a block or in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because if there's too many, then who are these people buying from? They're like, nobody's making enough money, because you have to split all these transactions between way too many people, where now their costs of buying the cocaine or buying the Herbalife smoothies or whatever it is don't actually make up for the fact that like they didn't sell enough.
Yeah, there's only so many people who are interested in buying the product.
Yeah.
It's not endless. And especially for the products that most MLM companies make, the products are not special. They're not in high demand. They're just leggings.
Yeah.
They're not groundbreaking products.
Yeah. Or in a lot of cases, they're kind of shitty quality.
Yeah.
Or pseudoscientific.
Oh, most of the MLM makeup companies, terrible makeup. Like, why would you get it there when you could just go to a makeup company that makes good quality makeup for the same price and get a better product?
Yeah, it's just a machine that runs on guilt, paying your friends. So, are there any companies that are especially bad that stand out?
Herbalife is especially bad. Herbalife is known to target Hispanic-speaking communities, especially those that are poor, which is terrible for obvious reasons. I have a big problem with Amway.
What does Amway sell?
Household products like cleaning supplies.
Oh, okay.
Amway is really old. It's like a classic MLM. It was like one of the first, and that's my big problem with it, is it kind of set the precedent for other MLMs to copy their model and follow the same rules that they do. And even worse, Amway it's gotten itself involved in the government, which
what, lobbying
annoys
or
me.
something?
Betsy DeVos is involved in Amway.
Involved how?
I think her husband is one of the top level people in Amway, if not the founder. I don't know off the top of my head.
Oh.
But that just annoys me. Like, they've become so powerful and have snuck their way into being seen as a legitimate company because they're so old. And a lot of MLMs use that as an excuse, like Mary Kay or Avon. Like, oh, we've been a company for so many years. We can't be a pyramid scheme. That doesn't matter. The same excuse that they use of like, it can't be a pyramid scheme because pyramid schemes are illegal. Doing cocaine is illegal. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Although, if it's a pyramid scheme or a MLM that's lasting for a long time, how do they manage that? Because if you are a person who joins an MLM, do most people last a long time?
No. Not at all.
Do they have realizations when like they come to realize they're being manipulated or that this company isn't legitimate?
I don't know if people in MLMs think that they've been tricked, but they are at least get to a point where they realize they aren't making money, and that's why they stop, and they may not think about it deeper than that.
Yeah, because I mean, I would hope, obviously it's not true, but I would hope that the longer an MLM is around, the more people will realize what it is, because the longer it's around, the sphere of influence that they're trying to have, they're reaching out more and more people, trying to get them to become part of the company, and more people are leaving the company some of them at least realizing that it's a scam. So like, how does Amway maintain any sort of reputation of being legitimate?
They just have that being one of the first. They really have been around for much longer than other MLMs, and I think I see them as sneakier. I suspect there's plenty of illegal activity happening at Amway, and they have all MLMs have to keep up the ruse of we're selling products. It's all about selling products. It's not about recruiting people, because that's when you get in trouble and get sued for being a pyramid scheme.
One of the main issues that I've already touched on a little bit with MLMs is how if you are a boss babe and you just decide to join an MLM, it seems like what so often happens is because you have to buy your own products that you want to sell, and then you never sell them, or you sell like so infrequently. But in order to, don't you have to keep buying products on a monthly basis to maintain your like rank?
Active status?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like if you want to be a diamond quality boss babe, you have to buy like $150 a month or something like that.
And that's how people end up with garages full of hundreds of dollars of product that they aren't able to sell.
Yeah. Which, I don't know, in some level it's hard to feel sorry for people like that have just financially ruined themselves over an MLM.
Yeah, it's sad. And especially the way that they target, like how Herbalife targets Latino communities. Most MLMs target, I would say the biggest target, regardless of the MLM company, no matter what it's selling, are targeting stay-at-home moms, usually who are religious, or military moms, military wives.
And why do you think it works to target moms?
It's perfect to target stay-at-home moms in particular, because they don't have a full-time job and they're looking for a side hustle, and this is easily positioned as that. I think maybe because they know that it's not enough to be a full-time income. They don't know that it might put them in debt, but it seems like a smaller commitment than getting a real job, because you don't have to go anywhere. You can do the work from home and you can stay with your kids. So for stay-at-home moms, I think that's why it sounds appealing.
What about the religious factor? How does that play into MLMs?
I think that has to do with church communities being tightly knit, and like moms within church communities being good friends with each other.
So they make for good sales and downlines.
Yes. And I have my own problems with religion and the military, but it is sick and sad to like target those people.
Why would military moms be good? Is that
usually
just
because
correlation
military
because they're
moms
religious, or?
don't. Military moms are usually having to move around frequently, so they aren't able to have like a steady full-time job.
Yeah.
So this is a job that you could kind of take with you. It is rampant on military bases. You come to like a military base and you're new and you're there with your husband and you're like, I want to make some friends. And some nice woman at your local church, it's your first time there, comes up to you and says, I'd love for you to come over to my house for a party on Sunday. And you're like, oh my gosh, a party? I could make so many friends. And then you realize that the party is for pure romance or something equally horrifying.
Yeah. Pure romance. I have a story about that. But in some way, it actually seems like, well, as the company as a whole, from like the employee by employee basis, MLMs completely misunderstand the market and capitalism. But then if you look at it like the founders and the CEO, like they completely understand. They're doing a perfect job at being entrepreneurs. They are exploiting the fact that people are friends with each other, and that'll make them do crazy things and buy stupid purchases for each other in order to become millionaires. But pure romance, I worked at a movie theater for like a year or two, and it was, I think, 2015 or so, when 50 Shades of Grey came out to theaters, that the general manager of the movie theater, I guess she was into MLMs or had a friend that was, because she invited Pure Romance to come to the theater. And there's these two, you go upstairs where these ultra screens, the large screens are on either end, right and left, and there's these two big waiting rooms there. And in one of them, they had like the Pure Romance team set up, And that's like where the queue would form when people come to go to the biggest screen. They have to wait before the movie starts. So the queue would lead right into this pure romance room where they're trying to sell everybody in line, all these moms that are deprived of a quality sex life because they're going to see 50 Shades of Grey. Now they're trying to sell them like dildos and anal beads and vibrators and stuff. Except it was so weird to me because it was in a regular movie theater that like you wouldn't think that's a normal or acceptable thing to do for just any regular company that anybody can go to start selling sex toys when there are also 10-year-olds hanging about seeing the latest like Captain America movie at the same time. And there was this one lady that got drunk and wanted me to escort her to her car. It wasn't good. It was a very cringy and awful group of people. Pure Romance made a lot of money though.
How many sales reps for Pure Romance came to the movie theater to sell?
Like 8.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, there's like there's like a room full of people, and it seems like all of the moms that came to see 50 Shades of Grey bought something.
Wow. Well, that was probably a good idea from those sales reps' point of view, although I'm sure it involved guilting your general manager into letting them do that.
Yeah.
I mean, Pure Romance in particular is, I think, the most embarrassing when it comes to products, and also probably the hardest to sell.
Why?
Because
it's just awkward to...
Yeah, you're not going to sell it to your family. Hell no. Who's going to approach their sister and ask if they would like to purchase a new vibrator from them? Not me. I mean, I don't have a sister, but I just feel like you've taken off the family potential customers, so all you have is your friends. And also, probably you're not going to go to your church group and try and sell those items.
Well, I don't know. I bet all those moms are religious.
Ugh.
Well, not all, but a lot of them. That goes into the, I guess, double standard of religious groups. Is, yeah, like in public, they certainly wouldn't bring it to their church, and they wouldn't discuss it at church. They would admit to it at church. But I bet a lot of them are buying the sex toys from Pure Romance.
I just feel like those items would be hard to sell. It's one thing to sell like skincare or makeup or oils or jewelry. Those you could probably get some of your friends on board with, but I don't know about sex toys.
Have you ever taken part in an MLM?
I've never been recruited or signed up or joined or sold. I've only ever seen it from like a secondhand perspective. My mom is part of an MLM, unfortunately.
Which MLM?
Touchstone Crystal, one of the ones that is a little less known, not as popular, but they sell jewelry.
Is it good jewelry?
No, I don't want to say it's bad, because bad quality MLM jewelry is made by paparazzi. That stuff is horrendous. Touchstone is better than that, but not as good as you could find from other places for the same price. Unfortunately, Touchstone Crystal has made this connection to Swarovski crystals, which is a legitimate company, and that makes it easier for people to say, oh no, this MLM is different, this one is better than the other ones, it's connected with this real company, but it's just an excuse. The business model is set up the same as any other MLM I've heard of.
Wait, so what's the connection? Is it by the same person, or like do they use...
They use some Swarovski crystal.
Oh. So how do people, is there any way to avoid getting sucked into an MLM, or get out of one if you're in one?
I mean, try not to get in one in the first place.
What's the solution?
If you're in one?
Or just for them in general, like, how do we fix it?
Don't support it. I know you want to, like, help your friend or help your family, but if you buy from someone you know who's trying to sell the products, that keeps them in the company another month.
And I guess if you buy from someone, they're just going to ask you again in the future.
That is really one of the problems, because in the beginning, when you first sign up for an MLM, you'll probably be doing okay because all of the people you know are first-time customers for you, and they're all fresh to it, hopefully. But as time goes on, how many bracelets are you going to buy in a year?
Yeah.
You can't be selling your friend a necklace once every 3 months. It's just not a viable customer anymore. They don't need this amount of stuff. So just don't buy it in the first place.
Is it mainly the stay-at-home moms, or like are guys affected by MLMs at all?
Not nearly as much as women. I think a couple of MLMs that are more geared toward guys is actually weirdly Amway, probably just because of its older nature, and also there are a couple of insurance MLMs like Primerica.
That doesn't sound good.
They sell insurance. Just why would you ever buy insurance from an insurance is bad enough.
Wait, though, if you're buying insurance from an MLM, wouldn't insurance be a monthly purchase? Wouldn't that make it a lot easier for an MLM salesperson to sell insurance? Like, because you don't need to keep coming back to the same person selling bracelets. Because you would think if they buy your insurance, now they're like a lifelong customer.
Insurance MLMs are the ones I know the least about.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know the answer to that.
It just seems like that business model would work a lot better than the rest of them.
It might. I don't know.
Do you have anything else you'd like to say about MLMs? I'm not all that familiar with them.
I think the overall message here, and this kinds of leads into scams in general, if you have to spend money to initially get involved in a company, or like if you have to spend money to get a job, it's not legitimate. And I learned that after I went to John Casablancas. I didn't spend my own money, but sadly my parents did.
What's John Casablancas?
So, when I was in middle school, I decided I wanted to be a model. And I kind of did some very basic research, I think with the help of my parents, to see how do you get started as a model? How do you do it? What do? And there was a place not that far from us called John Casablancas Modeling School, and we went there and sat through one of their presentations, and they said, buy our school package and come here for a set number of weeks and we'll teach you how to be a model. And then afterwards, you'll be able to book all of these jobs. They tried to position themselves as both a school and a legitimate modeling agency. So once you completed the course, you would be actually sent out to castings and booked for jobs. And I did the entire process. They paid a couple of $1,000s for me to go to said school.
Your parents paid?
Yes.
How long was the schooling?
I think I did it in the summertime. It might have been like 2 months.
Was it legitimate? Did you actually learn things?
I learned things, but at the time I didn't realize that these were things I could have learned elsewhere.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of companies like that, though.
A legitimate modeling agency will teach you the things they taught me for free. When I initially, because after this happened, I actually did get into modeling, not through John Casablancas. I don't think they ever booked me on a single job. And most of the other girls who also went to John Casablancas were not booked for any jobs because we weren't sent out for any jobs because John Casablancas turned out to be kind of scammy. After that happened, I got signed with a real agency, and when I came into them, they asked me to walk. And if they didn't like how I walked, they said, oh no, you should walk like this instead. It's not as hard as they made it out to be.
But if you were horrible, would they take the time to teach you? Or would they just say,
well, if you're
no,
horrible, then a modeling agency probably wouldn't sign you at all.
Right, so they wouldn't just teach anybody. They only teach people who already are
That was
good.
Another problem with John Casablancas, and I don't want to sound awkward or rude, but there are certain things about the modeling agency about the modeling world that are pretty self-explanatory, like being attractive, at least to a certain extent. And John Casablancas would take money from anyone. There was someone
sell you the idea that you can be a model even though you totally can't be.
Yes, that was another huge problem. I had people in my class who were girls who were 5'3", and I think there was a guy in my class who was over 200 pounds, heavier than that. But just people
they have XL models.
I know, but they truly would take anyone. And I hate to sound snooty about this, but not anyone can be a model and actually book real modeling jobs and castings, there's just like certain things that you have to have or have to be able to do to actually make money and work as a model. And they did not care about that. They would sign anyone up for their school no matter what they looked like, and looks matter for modeling.
So the extent of the John Casablancas scam is they take money from you, teach you modeling stuff with the hope or implicit promise that you're going to become a model because of this school, and then you never do. So in the end, you paid money for nothing.
I mean, you get something out of it. You get something out of the classes. It's not like a complete scam, but it's enough of a scam that if you're wanting to get into the modeling industry, you should just go direct to agencies and go on open calls where they will evaluate you and decide if you were a good fit, and they don't make you pay anything.
Yeah.
And if they're interested, they'll sign you, and if they're not interested, they won't.
I remember when I was 13 or 14 or something like that. Well, I had wanted to be an actor for the longest time. So I was like telling my mom, like, I really want to be an actor. Come on, like, what do I do? So then she decided to take me and my brothers to some acting/modeling agency. I don't know if it was legitimate or not. Probably wasn't. But we went there for the day, and then it was some sort of like tour/lessons stuff going on, and I think it was free. It was like a taste of what they have to offer. And then at the end of that experience, like, we sat down, everybody else that came, it was like a auditorium full of people, and then they explained like their company and their pitch, and we never went back because I'm pretty sure they were going to charge us a bunch of money if we wanted to continue. So it's probably a similar thing to that.
Mm-hmm.
I know it wasn't actually the same company. It started with a B. I stepped my toe into that door of illegitimate modeling/acting schools.
If they ask you to pay money, it's not legit.
Although they say you got to spend money to make money.
I know they say that, and that's something that people who are involved in scams and MLMs use as a talking point to try and convince you. And it's true if you want to begin your own business.
Well, that's how that's how an MLM person.
Sorry.
That's how an MLM phrases it, though. Like, they are the CEO of their own business, of Jennifer's Essential Oils.
But how can you be the CEO of Young Living when there is already a CEO of Young Living?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't actually make any sense, but that's the way they put it, though. Like,
Yeah.
you've got your own, you're like a franchisee or something like that. You've got your own domain of Young Living that you're the CEO of.
Yeah, but when I used to work at Subway, the franchise owner of that Subway didn't say he was the Subway CEO. Because he wasn't.
Yeah.
He didn't own Subway. He didn't come up with Subway.
I don't know how people maintain those sorts of delusions that they are their own boss when they're clearly not.
They have an upline.
Yeah.
You're not your own boss. Your upline your upline can only tell you what to do to so much of an extent, but
even still, you're working for a company. That you have to
a
buy
percentage
stuff
of what you make goes to your upline. That kind of makes them in charge of you a little bit.
Yeah. And then when you're trying to find downlines, you pitch to them that they can be their own boss when you know full well that you're going to be there. Yeah. Don't join an MLM. And if you're in one, stop.
Yep. And don't join a modeling or acting agency if they ask you to pay. Because, and this is why, a modeling agency who has full intention of sending you out on jobs to book, they already expect that you're going to book those jobs, and they'll be getting money for that because a modeling agency takes a percentage of your cut. So they're already going to be making money off of you by sending you out for jobs.
Are there no legitimate businesses or industries that make you pay to join in?
I don't know. Like, even if you get a company, a job at some random business where you have to go through like training, they pay for your training. You don't have to pay for that. Except at Cutco.
Is Cutco also a knife MLM?
Vector, Cutco. Same thing.
Oh, it's the same thing. Okay.
A regular business will pay for you to be trained in anything.
I suppose, speaking of, it takes spending money to make money. That's like what the stock market is about. They say, just invest your money. You gotta put a little bit in, you gotta risk it to make it big.
That is an example of spending money to make money. You can't make money on stocks if you don't first buy the stocks.
Buying the stocks, just like joining an MLM. Big gamble.
It's a risk. You'll probably have better luck on the stock market
Than an MLM.
I mean, do 97% of people who get involved in the stock market not make any money or go under? I'd like to see the stat. I don't know.
I mean, I would believe it but I don't know. They say you gotta, buy low, sell high, but it's not like you know when it's gonna go up or down. So it might look low and then it gets lower, and it never goes up. Right now, there's a big shaboozle going on Reddit and at Wall Street about GME,
GameStop
stock. Apparently, the people on Wall Street were shorting GameStop stocks, shares, and then people on Wallstreetbets, the subreddit, caught wind of that. So they started buying up all the stocks to drive the price way up, so the people on Wall Street would lose money because they expected the prices to continue to go down, so that they could borrow stocks that they didn't actually own, sell them, and then buy them at a lower rate, so in the end they would make money. Now they sold stocks they didn't actually own, and the prices are going up. So right now they've got to pay interest, and at some point they're going to have to buy them back to make good on their promise. And if the prices keep going up, then they're going to lose a shit ton of money. So everybody on So everybody on Wallstreetbets, just regular people, Reddit users who like to call themselves autists.
Is that what they call themselves?
That's like a meme a lot in the Wallstreetbets comments. They're always like, me and 30,000 other autists are gonna, I don't know. I guess they like to make fun of the fact that they're super finance nerds, and potentially are actually autistic. I don't know, self-claimed anyway. So a bunch of random people on Reddit and Wallstreetbets are like trying to drive the price of GameStop stock, and also AMC Entertainment and BlackBerry stocks just completely through the roof to make people on Wall Street lose millions of dollars, and then I guess for the people on Reddit to earn millions of dollars too. And you can see screenshots of people who bought in early, because this happened in the past like 2 days, where the price per share was at like $3 and now it's at like 300. So people who bought at $3 and bought like 15,000 shares, now they have, if they sold right now, they'd make like $20 million. So that people post their screenshots of the fact that they have $20 million potentially in sale in shares on the subreddit, and everyone's like, hold, keep holding, like to the moon. Like everybody's idea is that they're just not going to sell the stocks to continue to hemorrhage Wall Street bankers their money.
I love it.
And yeah, it's completely all over Reddit. If you open up Reddit and go on popular, at least today, which is 28th of January.
Yesterday as well.
And yesterday. There's just flooded with Wallstreetbets stuff. One of the posts is like a mega thread about it, had like 120,000 likes. So it's far extended beyond just that subreddit, and you can't avoid.
It's in national news now.
Yeah. Bernie Sanders and not Bernie Sanders, Robert Reich.
Robert Reich tweeted about it. AOC tweeted about it. Ben Shapiro tweeted about it. So when AOC and Ben Shapiro are on the same page,
well, are they?
Yes.
Okay.
You know it's a big deal.
I didn't know what Ben Shapiro said about it, but
he basically said, like, he was talking about Robinhood.
Yeah.
And how what they did was wrong.
Right. And Elon Musk was talking about it, and lots of people, and Mark Cuban.
Yep.
Yeah. So yesterday, I guess the breaking news was just the fact that the GameStop stock went up, 5,000%. Or I guess 5,000% in the past year. In the past day, it went up like 500%, just because a bunch of people decided to make that happen. And then today, the big news and outrage is that Robinhood, which I actually got in on the action last night. I downloaded the Robinhood app. Robinhood is a stock trading service.
Yep.
Where they don't charge you any money, but they probably have conflict of interest. But I bought one GameStop stock yesterday.
What did you buy it for?
I bought it for $280.
And
which was high, but it got higher after that.
What is that one stock worth now?
Probably less because it took a dive today.
Uh-oh.
We'll see what happens. Let me look. Yeah, it's worth less right now.
Uh-oh.
It's worth 190. So at the moment, a loss of 100. But earlier today, it was at 580. So it's volatile.
Everyone on Reddit is saying buy during the dip.
Yeah. Well, you can. I can't. Well, I mean, I guess I could.
You can't anymore through Robinhood.
Yeah. So the outrage of the today is the fact that Robinhood and other stock trading services actually discontinued the ability. They cut off the ability to buy more stock under the pretense that it's too volatile and they don't want to. They're looking out for their customers. But what everyone is outraged about is this probably isn't true, and they're like backing up the rich people, because if people continue to buy, then the rich people continue to lose. So everyone's like, Robinhood, for an app named Robinhood, it's actually decided to side with Wall Street, side with the rich people rather than siding with the regular people who are trying to buy up these stocks that now it won't let them buy up anymore. So it only allows you the ability to sell. Except you can still buy if you are not a U.S. citizen, if you live in like Canada or India or something like that, or if you use some other trading services. I think Fidelity allows you to buy.
At least at this time.
Maybe not even more. I haven't checked.
Yeah.
But I think there's a class action lawsuit forming right now against Robinhood because it's market manipulation. They ostensibly are supposed to allow you to buy and sell stocks whenever, and they decided to close off the ability to do that. So yeah, now I guess maybe one of the reasons it's taking a plummet is because the only option that you're allowed is to sell or hold, and everyone wants to hold, but not everyone has diamond hands, as they say. That's one of the phrases that is coming around a lot. I got diamond hands. Like, yeah. I don't know.
I love it.
Their finger is pulsing over the mouse. Like, should I sell? Should I sell? But no, they're not
moving.
Yeah.
Rock steady.
Yeah.
I feel like I noticed Wallstreetbets on Reddit. I'm on Reddit each day. I suspect you are too.
Yeah.
I noticed it kind of popping up a few months ago, like it would make it to the front page, and I never went into the threads. I just never quite was interested, but I saw that it was like gaining popularity, and I kind of was like, what is this? They seem to be like, they have all these terms that I don't know what they mean. And I just love when regular people on the internet infiltrate into real life. Like Reddit coming to real life is a bit weird. Like it's one thing for Facebook or Instagram groups to have some sort of impact, but I just feel like Reddit is a different animal, and it purposely has like anonymity attached to it, and I think it's really cool that they were able to fuck with Wall Street bankers.
Yeah. And now there's a lot of memes going on about the outrage of all these stock trading companies not allowing you to buy anymore. They're like, rich people say, oh, just invest your money. Like, that's how you become rich. Just invest. And then the poor people are like, all right, let's start investing.
It finally did.
And then the rich people are like, wait, stop. You can't invest. Like,
not like that.
No, you have to pay us to invest for you. You can't just decide to inflate stocks arbitrarily.
Won't anyone think of the billionaires? They might have to sell one of their boats.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I joined not under, not that big, but I got one stock, so one share. So even if I lose $290,
just see what it does.
Yeah, I guess I'm temporarily causing Wall Street bankers to have to pay 140% interest on their shortage, their stock shortings. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. They say Friday is the day, which is I guess as of recording, that's tomorrow. So
Friday's the day to sell?
I think so. I don't know. Because they're saying Friday, but they're also saying don't sell until it reaches $1,000 per share. Which I don't know, it might not. It's not at this rate, but if a bunch of people, there's a Reddit post that was like, we need help because in the US it's become a lot harder. They've restricted access to buying. They restricted access not just to the GameStop shares, but to AMC and BlackBerry, like all the ones that people were blowing up. So they're like, in the US, our access to buying these is restricted, so we need foreign help. We need like global help. So then people from Canada were like, we're going to help.
Oh,
and
yeah.
people from India were like, we're going to help. So I don't know. If they actually do that, then the prices will go back up. And maybe I'll make a little bit of money off of it. Or maybe I'll lose $290. if it actually got to $1,000 per share and then I sold, that'd be a nice profit over not much time, like a few days. But the whole idea is that it's like manipulating the market is only okay when Wall Street is doing it. And then when random internet people do it, all of a sudden, oh, there's a problem.
Well, I think they're annoyed because the regular people got too smart.
Yeah.
Like they saw the opportunity of what they were doing with GameStop and were like, hey, they're doing this thing right now. They're shorting this really badly. We should take advantage of that. And they were like, whoa. The regular people, they know how stocks work a little too much now. We got to keep that at a minimum. You can't be a regular Joe off the street knowing this much about shorting and how to take advantage of us.
Yeah.
But too late. Now they know. So they could do it again in the future if they wanted.
Well, if they, I guess, catch on to it.
If another opportunity arises, like GameStop did.
So yeah, now Robinhood is potentially facing a class action lawsuit for obstructing free markets. Obstructing, I should say. I don't know if that'll go anywhere, but if it does, I guess the idea is that it doesn't really matter. It's better to pay the fine of a class action lawsuit than to allow people to keep buying stocks and lose Wall Street a shit ton of money, because at some level, all these stock trading companies have to be partnered with people working on Wall Street. So there is a conflict of interest in the sense that they can screw over their own direct customers by not allowing them to buy stocks, or they can screw over their partners by having them lose a bunch of money on these stocks that they tried to short. So either way, it's a lose-lose for Robinhood, and everybody's just trying to flood it with bad reviews and move to a different service. So that class action or not, it might just die as a company.
Well, too bad for Robinhood.
Yep. If you're going to name yourself after someone who steals from the rich and gives to the poor, you should probably steal from the rich and give to the poor.
I feel like this is especially annoying for Robinhood's branding as a marketing person. I feel like they have positioned themselves to be like a stock trading platform for just the average Joe. Like that's exactly what they've positioned themselves on. Like I think they have, I don't know, some tagline at some point was like, let the people trade.
Yeah.
And this is just the
it's like stock trading for everyone.
Opposite.
Yeah. And I mean, on some level, it's not actually Robinhood's fault per se, because their partners that they facilitate their trading through are the ones who throttled the trading, not Robinhood themselves. Except Robinhood looks shitty because they weren't transparent in the reason they did it. They didn't say like, sorry, like the people that we have to listen to told us to stop doing this. They said we're stopping this for your own safety because it's too volatile.
Yeah.
So whether Robinhood was the ones intentionally choosing to do this or not, they were a little bit shifty and shady about how they did it. They could have just said it's out of our hands. Like if you want to buy GameStop stock share, you got to go somewhere else because we can't do anything about it. But instead, they said for protecting our customers, we're gonna stop. But what the customers want is to buy and hold to the moon. Yeah. So you also wanted to talk about relationships, seeing that you and I have been dating for like 7 years now or something. 7.5, I guess.
I think that's an accomplishment. Not everybody who you know, when you ask someone like, oh, are you dating someone? And they say yes, and you say how long. I feel like if the answer is over 5 years, the response is like, oh, wow, that's a really long time. Oh my gosh. And we did it. How did we do it? What are the keys to a successful relationship?
Self-reliance, I would say. Not expecting much from anybody else.
This sounds like a sad relationship. No, I can't really depend on them. I gotta depend on myself, and I don't want to depend or expect too much from them because they could just let me down.
Well, yeah, I mean that's how you guard against like disappointment and resentment.
Yeah, but if you want like the relationship to really work, don't you have to like go all in?
Yeah. I mean, well, what do you mean by all in?
You know, like let your guard down and open yourself up and...
Yeah, you can do those things.
Depend on them for some things.
Well, how is letting your guard down and like opening up the same as depending on someone, you know? Like you can be honest with a person and emotionally available or whatnot, and still be independent. Or do you disagree?
No, that's fine. I think those are the first things that came to your mind because you're a very independent person.
Yeah. I don't know. I think if you depend on someone too much, it leaves you too vulnerable to disaster, I guess. Like if your life is arranged in such a way where if that person, I don't know, wakes up and decides they hate you, which can happen, then your life isn't over.
Yeah, I mean, your life is probably going to be negatively affected if you, on any level, love them.
Yeah, it'll be negatively affected, but you weren't depending on them for your like stability in life. Maybe your emotional well-being, which obviously is going to take a large hit if you wake up, if they wake up and decide they don't love you anymore. What do you think is the key to a long-lasting relationship?
What is the key? I don't know.
Something like communication?
The
That's what people always
stereotypical
say.
answer is communication, and yet I think we have a successful relationship without much communication. We communicate obviously every day because we live in the same place, but we don't communicate about our relationship hardly ever.
What's the type of thing you're supposed to say?
Like if you have a problem in the relationship, like bringing it up.
Yeah.
Or if you really like something about the relationship, like mentioning like how much you appreciate that.
You don't think we do that?
Not very much. On both sides.
Oh. Is that how you want it?
I mean, I think we're pretty good as we are working currently. But they say you've always got to be communicating and talking about your relationship. Maybe we just don't have enough problems to communicate on how to fix them.
I'm just not sure what's meant by talking about a relationship. Like, I don't know if one of us thinks the other one isn't doing enough, like, housework, don't we tell each other that?
Yeah.
Or like, if we're annoyed with each other, do we not tell each other that?
No, you don't tell me that.
I think I do.
If that's the case, then you're annoyed with me very infrequently.
Well, okay, so I mean, I think this is maybe a better explanation of what I mean by the self-reliance thing. Is you can like a certain combination of being detached from everything, I guess, and being invested. Where if you're with someone, you can be appreciative and happy of the fact that you're with someone, while at the same time remaining aloof to bad things that happen or annoying things that happen. You know, so like I can be grateful and happy that you're here and that I'm dating you, but I'm not going to be completely obsessed or distraught, or my life or my week.
You can't love me too much.
No, that's not what I'm saying. It's like my week isn't going to be ruined if, you know, we have a problem.
Oh, yeah.
I have enough of my own thing going on where other people aren't going to damage it. And not just relationships, like friends and family too. Like it's a certain amount of internal stability where if somebody wants to or happens to damage it, it's not going to.
No, I know what you're saying. You're saying like you have to develop yourself first.
Yeah. Love yourself before you love others kind of thing. Or be comfortable with your own life before you include someone else in it. What kind of advice do you have for people who want a long relationship but haven't succeeded so far?
I really don't know. I think weirdly enough, as much as people knock on relationships that begin in high school, because we met in high school, I wonder if that was part of the reason we ended up working, because we kind of grew into adults a little bit at the same time, like together.
Yeah, but I feel like there's equal opportunity in that same situation for people to grow apart. You know, if you're changing a lot in your early 20s or whatever, you know, it's entirely just as possible that you're going to turn into people who are incompatible, or at least perceived to be incompatible. I'm kind of under the idea that incompatibility is a lot harder to find than compatibility, where people can work together a lot easier than you would think. Maybe.
But like arranged marriages,
right.
Actually,
you can learn to love people
out.
Yeah, it's not like you need to find that very one specific person in the universe that will work with you. I think it's like 70% of humans you'd probably work well with.
About like compromise. Maybe that's the key.
Compromise? Yeah, I don't like the word compromise. It's like both sides are unhappy. But
yeah, well,
yeah.
No one's going to be happy being the designated dishwasher, but someone's got to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could both be dishwashers, but I guess that's compromise.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like the whole idea of nothing is really free. You've got to pay some costs if you want to be in a relationship, which is, I guess, itself a compromise.
Mm-hmm.
And then what those costs are, depending on the relationship, change. But yeah, I just think that you can be compatible with a lot of people, but if you like you said, if you start a relationship in your late teens and you change a lot in your 20s, you could entirely remain compatible with each other, or you could change and go your own ways in life, because that's usually for most people a time of rapid development and changing of ideologies and whatnot.
Yeah, it usually is. I don't know. I just liked having the consistency of like a thing in my life being the relationship that was unchanging, and that was nice to have.
So it's like a comfort?
Yeah.
I mean, is it unchanging though?
Just being in the same
just
relationship.
The fact that you're dating the same person?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's changed.
Yeah, it has. But I've been at college while you've lived at home, you've lived with other people, and I've lived with other people. We've had a variety of roommates. I lived by myself for a little while. We've been in different places, but we've still dated through it. And the consistency of coming to see each other, no matter what our situation was the sameness aspect.
The sameness.
Yeah.
That, what you said before, is one term that I always kind of hate when I hear people use, and I wish people would be more specific. When there's a breakup and someone's like, we just weren't in the same place in life. I'm like,
I literally mean places.
Yeah, okay. Literally. But that's something that people say a lot. We were in the same place in life. And I always want to know, what do you mean by that?
I know what that means.
What does it mean? We didn't have the same mindset about our relationship?
It means that the girl was in the place in life where she wanted to settle down, get married, and have kids, and the guy wasn't.
Okay, so they valued the long-term project of the relationship differently.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what it means a majority of the time. Not always, I'm sure, but that's what I usually get from that phrase.
Aside from comfort, I guess, what else do you get out of a relationship?
I mean, friendship, obviously.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable in many of the same ways that a friendship is, having a person who has the same sense of humor as you. Obviously, that's great.
So, do you think that's another important aspect to keeping a long-term relationship, communication, but also being friends with the person? Because there's those types of relationships where, it's just entirely sexual chemistry.
Yeah, I feel like those are the ones that are very lusty in the beginning, and they're very hot, and then they go very cold quickly because you realize your personalities don't really click.
Yeah. And then there's the ones where you start as friends and you decide to date for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
The classic movie of a guy and girl who've been best friends since they were 6. And the guy's always loved the girl, and
yeah, he
had to wait until after they graduated college. Because I guess then, I don't know, you probably need both though. I mean, those ladies that buy the pure romance at the movie theater, you need I guess, some aspect of a sex life.
Yeah, romantic chemistry.
From a girl's perspective, if you don't have that, is it that you feel unloved or uncared
I really
about?
don't know how to describe it aside from just romantic chemistry, because I have had guy friends who are clearly attractive and I enjoy their personalities, and no matter how attractive they are, they're just my friend. They're just my friend. Although I hear that it's not quite the same for guys. And if a guy has a hot girlfriend, he wants to get with her.
Friend that's a girl? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, maybe it's just because I'm a guy, but my idea of it is that people of the opposite gender, or at least the opposite sexual attractions, can't actually remain friends indefinitely without developing romantic attraction to them. Like if you have a friend who's a girl for long enough, you'll eventually, one of the two, maybe not both, but one of the two people will develop feelings for the other person, which then I feel like leads to you having to go your separate ways as friends. Because it's hard to be friends with someone that you're interested in.
Are you just saying that because you don't have a personal anecdote example?
No, I do. I feel like in like high school and like almost all of my friends that were girls, I
ended up liking you?
Well, no. I mean, like I liked them, or they liked me, and it was obvious.
So, like, you just
like,
haven't ever experienced a relationship with a girl that was a friendship and completely platonic from both sides?
Well, no. I mean, I have that now, but I'm just skeptical that that can remain forever. You know, I feel like the majority of the friends that I've had in my life that are girls, either I liked them or I could tell that they liked me, but I didn't like them. So now I've got friends that are girls, and it seems completely platonic, but I just wonder if at some point in the future, if we remain friends, somebody will develop feelings for the other person.
Or would you like them if you didn't have a girlfriend?
Well, yeah, lots of them.
Oh, okay.
I mean, isn't that, like, I don't know, isn't that why you would be friends with someone? Because you like them? Like, I just feel like if the friendship is a really important component of a romantic relationship, it's easy for that to form.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
It's easy for that to form from a friendship. And I mean, I feel like if you do have a platonic friend of the opposite gender or, you know, sexual attraction, that they might not exactly come out and say, I've been in love with you for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But you might stop being friends
Did you
somewhere
ever
down
do
the
that?
line. No, I don't think I have. There were people that I liked, but it was always like, I don't want to ruin our friendship, or I'm actually dating someone right now. And I don't want to ruin that.
Is that happening right now?
I don't think so. Or like they're dating someone and I don't want to ruin that. So it's just safer not to tell them.
That doesn't seem like you. I feel like you're a risk taker.
Okay, well, that's, again, not entirely true. I have had 2 breakups. Yeah, I've had a breakup or 2 where it was because I was interested in someone else. So I have done the risk taking, and it ended up being a bad move.
Oh.
Each time. Well, the one time that it happened. Of all of the guy friends you've ever had, what percentage would you say that you've developed feelings for?
A majority.
See? That's what I mean.
But it's not impossible.
And then the rest, very possible that they had feelings for you.
That's not possible.
Why?
It's just not.
Okay. Well, do you have anything else in mind that you want to talk about for relationships?
I don't think so.
Oh.
That wasn't as much of a hitter as I envisioned.
Okay, well, what is it? Or what's something that you're interested in?
Cooking.
Why are you into cooking? What is it about it that you like?
Well, that's, I hope you'd agree, something that you enjoy about the relationship. I like to cook, like, good food. You like to eat. You have no interest in cooking, like, food above a certain skill level.
I mean, not no interest at all. I like to do it on special occasions.
Right,
like
but
for Christmas.
I
don't like the time that it consumes.
You don't like the experience of cooking.
I don't know. I probably get some small amount of gratification.
You will do
cooking.
anything to avoid mincing garlic or chopping an onion. And I'm cool with both of those things.
I hate chopping onions. It's not fun.
I'm not even that mad about chopping
They're round,
onions.
slippery objects with rings that when you cut into them, No.
I think maybe I've
cut myself on onions at least like 15 times.
Oh, well, I think I have a pretty good tolerance to not crying when I cut onions, so maybe that's why I hate it less than the average person.
It affects me very strongly. Like,
it affects you like in the other room.
Yeah, I can get the onion waft in the air from like 40 feet away, and my eyes start burning, and the person who's chopping it is fine.
Occasionally it'll affect me, but I usually feel like I'm pretty good about that.
And then mincing garlic is just really annoying because they're so tiny and
I just like
fiddly.
it.
And like, yeah, now we have one of those nice roller mincers that's easier, but then it's still annoying because you got to clean the little tiny compartment out. And then it's a small compartment, so if you need to mince even a normal amount of garlic, you have to empty it and reload it, empty it and reload it. It's just, the thing is, for me, cooking, it might spark some joy, but it is not enough for the time spent doing it, I think. I would rather just spend a minimum of time making a box of pasta or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and eat that. And, you know, I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Would you rather eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or like something that I am cooking? Well, like I'm making some Alfredo with roasted Brussels sprouts.
I'd rather...
The reward for that is much greater.
Well, if you're cooking it, the reward is much greater. If I'm cooking it...
You would never make that for yourself?
Not never, but every once in a grand while. Because like if I'm making it, then it's like I spend a minute and a half making something that I really enjoy, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or I spend 45 minutes making something that I enjoy a whole lot, but still the time was like 40 times greater. I don't enjoy it 40 times more.
I do. Not everybody enjoys the process of cooking. Obviously, I think, like, if you look at the statistics, young people cook less than ever before. Although they're not making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, they're ordering from restaurants. Young people aren't into cooking like they used to be.
They used to be into cooking?
Just like people used to cook more in general.
Why do you think that is? Just because convenience of food has gotten higher?
I think it's probably because we didn't learn how to cook from our parents.
But what, along what line?
Like our parents were the generation that kind of started being like, maybe I'll just pick up this takeout from when I'm on my way home from work rather than cooking. So we were exposed to less cooking at home.
So then this is one of those problems with a generation that is actually the fault lies at the previous generation?
I mean, that's just my suggestion. I don't have evidence to back that up.
Because I mean, yeah, that's probably a factor that. I mean, but I cooked a lot and baked a lot as a kid.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did your parents?
Kind of.
How often on a weekly basis of 7 nights a week, how many of those days did you eat a meal that was cooked at home?
Well, it would get less and less as I got older, into my teens and stuff. But 3 or 4 when I was a little kid.
For me, that answer is 7.
And then when I was older,
we
maybe
did
it was
never
like 1
go out
or
to
0.
eat, get takeout. Restaurants were only for special occasions.
Well, yeah, we didn't. I'm not saying we got takeout or restaurants 3 days a week. A lot of it was like.
Then what were you eating?
Well, you know, the in between, not restaurants, not home cooked meals, but like a frozen pizza,
mac and cheese,
box mac and cheese.
Yeah,
more PB&Js because I've eaten thousands of those in my lifetime.
Yeah,
so easy to make stuff that I could make myself. I would make those pastaroni mac and cheeses a ton as a kid. Well, as a teenager when we were not making family meals as much. So yeah, I guess that would probably be a factor of why people our age nowadays cook less, is that they are less exposed to it as kids, but also probably, I would imagine, the vast increase in convenience of food, especially now this year or this past year with DoorDash and Grubhub and Uber Eats and all these food delivery services where restaurants that didn't ordinarily have delivery services now technically do.
And just the restaurant industry for a long time was primarily full service restaurants and has now since gigantically shifted to quick service and limited service, which young people really like.
I think it's because of all things, people prioritize convenience over most, and I'm part of that. Not that I don't prioritize convenience. Well, actually, for me, it's like it becomes inconvenient actually to get fast food or those limited service restaurants like Noodles and Company. Yeah, it's more convenient than going to a sit-down restaurant. It's more convenient than cooking my own recipe that's going to take an hour, but it's certainly less convenient than making a PB&J.
Oh my god, you place too much your obsession with PB&J.
There was a period of probably 4 years where I would eat a PB&J like once a day, every day at work, have one for lunch. Yeah, it is high on my consumption list, but I don't mean specifically PB&Js. I just mean foods that are quick home foods. Like, because if I'm going to go out to Burger King to get a Whopper, then I have to drive there and back. And in the time it takes me to do that and eat the thing, I could have just made
a PB&J.
A frozen pizza, let's say.
Okay.
Or, yeah, I could have, eaten an apple.
Yeah, I get it. I think that maybe you're just not as excited about food ingredients in the way that I am, which is fine.
I mean, I'm really excited about food. I love to eat. I eat too much. So what is it? Why do you get excited about food ingredients?
I really can't explain it. It's like not everybody's interested in it, but since going vegan, I was like, oh, I guess I need to learn to cook now and have to transition from the quick home foods like box mac and cheese into real recipes. And I just felt really excited about vegan recipes and learning to cook with ingredients that I otherwise would have not even bothered with. Even something that sounds so basic like chickpeas. If I had not gone vegan, I suspect I would not have bought chickpeas ever. Bought.
Yeah, that's true. It does make you branch out in what you're making. You weren't into cooking before going vegan at all?
I wasn't, but I kind of was in the classic stage of in college and spending very little on food and like the classic college meals is what I was eating, except for the hot dog thing. No one I knew was eating that.
Well, I don't know how classic your meals were.
I ate mac and cheese and what else did I eat in
You
college?
would buy Pop-Tarts and eat a single Pop-Tart and put the other one back in the package and expect...
Pop-Tarts are a classic college person food.
No, but you would eat one at a time.
I know.
And you would expect me not to eat the other one, and I always would.
But still, Pop-Tarts is a college person food. I also used to eat plain hot dogs, not in a bun, just dipped in ketchup and cut up like a 5-year-old.
When I was 5, I liked to put my hot dogs in the mac and cheese.
I never had that when I was a kid. I know that was like a kid's meal thing. My parents made real food.
Every single night, you said? Even forever? Like...
Literally forever. And on the nights where they wouldn't cook, we would be having leftovers from the previous night's home-cooked meals. I mean, they weren't gourmet chefs or anything like that, but they always cooked like a recipe. Even if it was a very basic recipe for like a casserole where you dump some stuff in it, it was still a recipe. And at the time, I was not excited about it because I actually was such a picky eater for so long.
I've always been kind of a picky eater too.
Yeah, you are.
What ways do you think I'm a picky eater now?
I just think that the foods you dislike, you hate with a fiery passion. And the foods that I dislike, but I won't go to the ends of the earth to avoid them.
Well, I don't go to the ends of the earth. I really hate mushrooms, but I had a bite of that
and that was
spring
shocking.
Roll that had mushrooms in it the other day because I made it.
That was shocking.
I wanted to try my own creation, I guess. Well, not my creation, our creation. You made the filling, I made the frying, springing, rolling part.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've definitely developed as an eater over time. When I was a kid, I was especially a picky eater. I have a certain memory of being at my uncle Kevin's house.
Kevin?
No, his house as a kid with my brothers and cousins, and we were at dinner or something, and on my plate was just a bunch of black beans, just cooked. I don't even know if they're cooked, but they were just black beans.
What kind of meal was this?
I mean, this isn't what the story was about, but it does partially explain why kids in general and myself hated a lot of vegetables growing up, is because they weren't made with any effort or care at all.
Yeah.
And you were expected to like them.
Spices, roasting, oil, salt.
Yeah, like the difference between just popping broccoli in the microwave and baking it.
Oh my god.
Even if you didn't put any salt or olive oil or pepper on there, just microwaving and baking. Like the difference in how much I enjoy eating it is just through the roof. So yeah, when I've just got black beans sitting on my plate as a 9-year-old, I refused to eat them.
They were just like there as like a side dish?
Yeah, they're just on the plate and I had whatever else I had. I don't remember the rest of the meal. I just remember the black beans.
What a weird way to serve black beans.
There was like this playground park nearby. It was a neighborhood that was being developed. There were like 3 houses and the rest was like barren wasteland that was now is actually a neighborhood, but at the time it was one of those brand new neighborhoods. So there's this really pristine brand new playground nearby that nobody was ever at. And I wanted to go and hang out and play there with my brothers and cousins. But I wasn't allowed to because I had to finish my plate.
Unless you ate your black beans.
So I literally sat at the table, and I was punished a lot as a child, and a lot of my punishments consisted of this exact thing. I sat at the dinner table until 10 p.m. or 9 or whenever I had to go to bed, stubbornly refusing to eat a vegetable.
I would do the same thing, and I would cry because I would get really upset
Yeah.
because I didn't want to eat this thing, and they...
Yeah, and I would never give in. I would never, like, my mom, who was probably softer on this kind of thing than my dad, would change the rules. Like, at first it was, you have to eat everything on your plate. You have to completely eat those vegetables. And then an hour would pass, and my mom would be like, okay, if you eat 2 green beans, you can leave the table. And I still wouldn't do it. Like, I would just not want to touch them at all. And then there was one time where it was green beans I was refusing to eat.
Green beans are kind of one of my least favorites.
Even now I don't like them very much.
Yeah.
They're fine in like some stuff, but I'd prefer them to not be there, I guess, in general. Black beans, I eat a ton of the time.
Yeah,
I
we
eat all the
those
time.
a lot.
But I make sure to cook them well.
Season
them or put them in
and
stuff.
not by themselves.
Yeah, don't just eat black beans with a spoon.
Yeah.
Put them in bean
Although that
burgers.
was another thing I did in college actually as well. I would just eat black beans and rice with a little bit of butter.
Yeah.
I had weird eating habits in college though.
Around that time I would eat weird things as well. But yeah, there was this one time where I wouldn't eat green beans. And I stayed at the dinner table for hours until I had to go to sleep. And then my mom or dad or whoever decided that they were going to save the black beans or the green beans, and I had to eat them the next day.
The next day, ooh, that's bad.
So they put them in a bag, and they're like, "You're grounded until you eat these." And I just didn't do it. And then at some point, my brothers, maybe both of them, maybe just one of them, I don't remember, took them out of the little bag that my green beans were being kept in and put them under my pillow.
I was thinking that exact thing. I was like, I bet they put them in your bed.
Yeah, they put them under my pillow. So then I hated that, so I retaliated by pouring milk on my brother's pillow.
Which brother?
Whoever did, I think it might have been Brad. Because as a child, he tormented me more. Well, Chase tormented me too sometimes.
And in turn, you tormented Teague.
Yeah, it's kind of a bad cycle that I regret of brotherly hatred. You're a few years younger, 5 years younger than your older brother, and he like bullies you and beats you up and drowns you in the pool and stuff. And then you can't really fight back because he's twice your size. So then you take out that pent up anger and hatred, or like just those things that happen to you. You perpetuate them onto your little brother, or in some cases onto your children. Which I remember that too as a kid. I oscillated back and forth when my dad would make me do some menial labor, like pick up sticks as a punishment for 3 hours.
That is the weirdest punishment. I never had to do that as a kid.
I would go back and forth in my head from like, when I have kids, I'm gonna make them do the same thing.
Evil. Oh my god.
And then I would switch for like, no, when I have kids, I am never gonna do this to them. I'm gonna be
As a kid, you always have that thought, like, when I have kids, I'm never gonna use because I'm your mother as an excuse. I'll always come up with something better than that.
Because I said so.
Yeah. That was the worst thing to hear as a kid.
Yeah. I never liked to accept any sort of arbitrary authority as a kid, or even now. I was very rebellious and would get punished a lot. How often did you get punished as a kid?
Infrequently, because I didn't make trouble as a kid, and I think part of the reason of that was because I didn't have siblings to make trouble with. I think people who have siblings probably are more likely to bounce off each other, and sometimes that goes south, and it was just me. And I just was a quiet child who liked drawing and reading alone in my room for hours on end. I did not make a fuss. The only time I ever did get punished, my parents would say, like, no TV.
Yeah, no TV. My main punishment when I got grounded was usually like no video games, or sometimes like no TV, or even sometimes when I was older, it was like no cell phone or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like as a kid, I didn't even have all that many opportunities, contrasting against the kids today, for playing video games. Because there was the rule in my house that was established at a certain point early on in my childhood that I wasn't allowed to play video games on weekdays.
Do you think that was a good rule? Even though you didn't like it at the time, do you look back and you're like, yeah, that seems fine? Or no?
I don't know. I don't know how much it did, because, like, in my mind, I don't see any reasonable difference between watching TV and playing video games. And I was still allowed to watch TV. If anything, I actually think playing video games is a more healthy activity than watching TV, because at least it requires some sort of thought and input on your part. You actually have to do like strategic thinking where TV, you're just kind of sitting there like a zombie, just staring at a screen.
I think it's because our parents enjoyed watching TV as well, but probably not video games.
Well, my dad liked video games. He just didn't ever really have the time or whatever energy to play them. My dad would tell me about how when he was like 20 or something or whatever in like 1987, when the first Zelda game came out, him and his like roommate or whatever at the time like got really into it and like were trying to solve like the whole riddle of the game because there wasn't any information about it except for if you bought that one guide or map of it or whatever. So then on, he would like to play the Zelda game. So as a kid, I have some memories of watching my dad play Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, or Ocarina of Time, however you say it. So my dad liked video games. He just didn't play them all that often.
The only video games I've ever played, when I was in high school, we got a Wii.
Oh, yeah.
And a Wii Fit. And
Why would you get a Wii?
My parents got it. I didn't ask for it. It was literally not my idea. And they got it, and I was a boss at Wii Tennis, and that's about it.
Wii Tennis?
Tennis.
No.
Tennis was
Wii
the
bowling.
cream of the crop. No, tennis.
I got the golden bowling ball.
Oh my god.
By getting the perfect score. Like, when you play Wii Sports, you've got your overall score in that sport that goes up or down over time depending on your improvement. And in order to get the golden bowling ball, you had to get like perfect 300 bowling game like 20 times in a row to get that peak score.
I just found tennis to be the most fun.
I liked golf too, actually. Wii golf I thought was really fun.
Ew. There's no way to make golf fun.
I thought Wii golf succeeded in making golf fun. Boxing was my least favorite, though. I like tennis more than the boxing.
I was kind of down with boxing. Although Wii boxing in Wii Sports was like an actual kind of workout. Or you could make it to be one.
That just shows, like, I guess I don't know the numbers and if this is actually true, but it feels like the Wii was in, like, every household.
I know. It was weird that we got the Wii because we were not a video game.
Yeah, right. Even people who were not video game playing households decided to buy the Wii for some reason.
Yeah.
Because it marketed itself as, like, super family friendly, but also like a health item. Yep. Like an exercise
We had
tool.
the board, the Wii Fit, that would like weigh you and tell you how obese you were. My mom used to be on the Wii Fit.
Yeah, and people buy Just Dance and like that would feel like they're getting their exercise in for the day. And my mom was never into video games really. She always actually kind of hated the violent ones for their violence, I guess. But
I mean, I think there's some merit there.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the game. Some are obscenely just violent. What did you just have a gasp about?
I just realized I did write something else down that I wanted to talk about, but it's okay.
What is it?
Meritocracy.
Oh, yeah, that's a good topic. Especially considering my last episode. So meritocracy, what are your thoughts on it?
There's no transition at all.
Well, yeah. Transition sentence.
I did want to talk about meritocracy just because I felt like it was a topic that I have recently become interested in within the past year, and wow, it just really impacted the way I think about things a lot.
Like, how did it change things? Did you used to not think about it at all, or did you used to be pro meritocracy and now you're not, or vice versa? Like, what changed?
I think I did used to believe that success was based on
Merit.
Yeah. And I think I only really thought that way because I was in my own bubble and I really only had myself and my immediate circle to look to as examples, and then also examples that become popular in the media, which are only ever examples of success, not failure.
Yeah, I guess there's one thing that I want to clarify, I guess, that I didn't really get at in my last episode, whether you listened or not. Yeah, meritocracy is not, or at least the way I feel like it's popularly talked about or should be thought of, is it's not about who should get, or like who should be in charge of certain things. Like, obviously you want people that are experts to be doing the things in that field. Like, obviously you want a successful pilot to be your pilot. It's not about that. It's about what success is actually based off of, like how people actually get successful, whether or not it's fair or whether or not they actually deserved or earned what they have, like the skills they have. Obviously, the people with the skills you want to put in the positions, but it's just about if these skills are fairly allocated and if it actually makes sense to say that you deserve the skills that you have or you earned the skills that you have through your own effort, whether you are a self-made man or not.
Yeah. It's most of the people who pitch themselves as self-made men are not so self-made men.
Right. It kind of, most people that it seems to me that meet success in life, they overlook all of the things that led them there that were beyond their control.
Yes.
Or in some cases, they even claim that they had control over those things. These things are like your intelligence. You don't create your own intelligence. Just like anything else of your body, it's part of your biology.
And the schooling that you were enrolled in that
Sure.
you didn't have a choice
Yes.
on.
Although I think there's dubious evidence that matters so much, schooling. Although I don't know, I guess it depends on the study. But I think there's some studies about that the school you go to doesn't actually matter very much.
I mean, I suppose, like, if you're a genius, it probably doesn't matter
Yeah.
what school you go to. You're going to be a genius.
Yeah. So it's at least a lot comes down to biology. And then even school, yeah. As a child, you don't choose what school you go to either.
Mm-hmm.
So really no factor that created how intelligent you are was your own doing. It was the luck of the genetic draw or the luck of being born into a family that decided to invest in your education.
Mm-hmm. And just like the stereotype of someone who calls themselves like, I'm a self-made man, I envision like an old white dude who probably like realized his success in probably the 90s. And that's like, you're in just the absolute best position with all of those things going for you. And they're like, oh yes, I did it myself, just through the power of hard work. And that's not all it takes.
Right. And there's this sense of a deep like inequality of opportunity that shows the flaw in the meritocratic ideal of, yeah, you could have all the same characteristics as far as intelligence or like craftiness, or even you have the same exact business idea as someone else. You have the same types of friends, except if you exist in a different time, say,
Yeah.
like a particular decade where an industry is booming, then you're going to succeed there, or you're more likely to. Or if you exist...
Getting in on the tech industry in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you are a certain skin color in a society where you have disadvantages for looking a certain way, or if you're a certain gender where, like, if you're a woman born in, 1936 and you have a great idea for a company, good luck.
Yeah. Sorry, that great idea is sadly going to waste because no one's going to take you seriously.
Yeah, you're more than likely doomed to being a 1950s housewife.
And someone else also has that exact same idea, but they're a businessman, and he's going to get all of the credit for thinking of this great idea. You're not the only one who has your idea. Tons of people every day have the exact same idea. Not everyone is able to execute on it and become successful.
Right. Or yeah, you happen to have a certain group of friends who is able to actually achieve this thing. Like this happens a lot with comedy squads. A group of friends are all trying to make it big as comedians, and they all make it big together because, like Seth Rogen and company, they play off each other. Whereas if you're just as funny as Seth Rogen, but you don't have any friends, like you're gonna have a lot harder.
Or your
time.
friends aren't into comedy at all.
Yeah, and you can't like try and make movies together. You're gonna not have a very good go at it.
Yeah, there's just so much on the luck of the draw that is not spoken about. And I think one of the things that made me realize this was when I got hired at my job, because I was a good student and I had like gotten an internship in the field, but I wasn't head and shoulders above my classmates. Like when I was around them, it was very clear to me that I was on the same level as them. I was getting A's, they were getting A's too. I was trying hard in school, they were trying hard in school too. Like, there was a lot of people who were a lot like me. And then the very first place I ever applied to for like a full-time adult job out of college, I got hired at my first interview. And I was like, I want to give myself a huge pat on the back here, but I felt so insanely lucky that I fell into that. Like, I know I tried, but not 100 times harder than anyone else I knew. And a lot of those people were out of college for months still looking for jobs and couldn't find anything. And I really didn't feel like there was much of a difference between me and them.
Right. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear this kind of thing and reject it, but I feel like in a certain level it isn't actually rejectable. But even if you had tried harder and were head and shoulders above the rest, that's not any of your doing. Your psychology and the type of person you are, and in whether or not you're a person who is ambitious, you don't decide that. In a certain way, it comes down to the fact that you aren't in control of anything. There's no such thing as free will.
Or even if you are like an ambitious type of person, that still isn't enough.
Right. Yeah, that one factor is enough, or even all the factors combined aren't enough because somebody has a better hand of cards just through the luck of the draw. Mm-hmm. It's not that we should give unqualified people positions that require great skill. That would be a disaster. It's about being honest about the fact that the way success happens is not based on fairness. It's not based on merit.
Yeah.
It's just based on being lucky. And it's good when people that are successful can acknowledge their luck. At least, like, they're being honest about it. And if there's a successful person who is giving advice of how to be successful, that's the type of thing that you should listen to and give, like, with a large grain of salt.
Exactly.
Because some of the things might be helpful in a general sense. Like, of course, it's true that you need to actually do something.
Yeah.
You can't become a successful singer if you don't try out, like, or you don't sing, you don't put yourself out there. You can't become a successful financier if you never invest in the stock market. Like, you have to actually do things. But at the same time, when Elon Musk or someone else tells you all of their advice on how to be a successful businessman, yeah, it worked for Elon Musk. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Mm-hmm. And in a way, it didn't work for Elon Musk because what he's saying is a post hoc fabrication of it. Like,
Elon Musk is a weird guy.
A story that he tells about his own success that doesn't incorporate luck into it.
And people who get really successful, I imagine, don't want to say that they got there through external factors because that's not a very exciting story.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to, like, why would you want to say, like, oh, it wasn't all me, it was just the combination of this, this, and this, that I was in the right place at the right time, and no one wants to say that because that doesn't make your ego feel very good, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird because on some level, we obviously accept that certain things aren't achievable based off of luck. Like, nobody would expect me to become a pro basketball player because I'm not 6'5" or higher. No one would expect a 4'9" girl to become a model because she's a foot short than she needs to be. But on another level, it's like we expect anybody to be able to become successful when that's just obviously not true.
Yeah, if you're 6 foot, that's not enough to become a pro basketball player.
We expect like that with enough effort, anybody can do a thing.
That's
maybe
like
not
the
exactly
American
basketball.
dream.
Right.
The promise of, like, you can make it here in America. All you have to do is put your boots to the ground and try really hard and you'll make it.
Yeah.
And the only stories we hear are the ones of people making it.
Right. It's a selection bias effect that everybody that does fall into this category, they're the biggest news stories. So they make us feel like it's true when there's millions of other people who tried just as hard
or
but
harder.
Failed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you are born a genius, it still doesn't guarantee your success.
Yeah. There's just so many other things that have to all be working in tandem to lead to success.
Yeah. Yeah, we as a society feel as though, or like to think, that it's fair, that things are fair, that you get what you deserve. But if we keep telling ourselves that when it isn't actually the case, then there's no way for us to actually make a fair system. Mm-hmm. If you live in an unfair system, believing that your system is fair, how are you ever going to actually change it to make it actually fair. If you're
You have
denying
to
that there is a
admit
problem.
the problem.
Yeah.
And people who have made it will continue to insist that there is no problem because look at me, I've made it. And it's just about like seeing beyond yourself and your immediate circle to think that perhaps there are other people out there who didn't have the opportunities working for them like they worked for you.
Yeah.
And I have had so much in my life that has worked for me pretty much exactly how anyone would want it to. I mean, I'm not rich, but I haven't had many problems. And if I'm able to recognize it, then other people should too.
Yeah. There's this like confusion or misconception that arises. People thinking that when you critique the existence of meritocracy, that they think like, oh, what, you just want to equalize everyone? You want to like make everyone have the same amount of money? And it's not about that. It's not about equality of outcome. It's more about equality of opportunity. Rather than making everyone the same, it's more about diminishing the unfairness that's inherent in genetics or the societal factors that we have as much as possible.
Trying to give people the same chance as much as you can.
Yeah,
There's always going to be differences. We will never all be making the same amount of money. There is always going to be difference in classes, but to try and not make the difference so absurdly giant, like people who are starving every day and people who can buy countries, like let's lessen that gap a little bit.
Yeah, there are certain factors that we can't control and maybe likely will never be able to control or manipulate, but there are other ones that we definitely can, such as like a easy, good, popular example is free education. This isn't having anything to do with outcome because you're not guaranteeing that everybody who goes is going to get the same grade and get the same job afterward. But you are guaranteeing that everybody has the ability to go to college or go to whatever school. You're not requiring a large amount of money, a down payment. Oh, there's the type of thing that I was thinking of, a quote-unquote legitimate industry that makes you pay. I mean, obviously it's just a product, but...
Well, I mean, it does feel kind of like a scam now. Like, in order to find a job, you must go into debt.
Right. You must pay tens of thousands of dollars.
It does feel like a scam. You should not have to go into debt in order to get a job.
Yeah, it's always crazy to think about, but one thing Robert Reich talks about a lot is the fact that in the 1960s, Berkeley was free.
And that was not that long ago. Things are harder now, okay, boomers?
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, maybe we can't equalize intelligence and who would be accepted into Berkeley, but we could at least completely eradicate the factor of wealth.
It just allows rich people to get richer and poor people to become poorer.
Right. Or, yeah, it's at least a large block in the way of upward social mobility. If you're poor and smart enough to get into a good college, but not wealthy enough to pay for your way into that good college. And I know there are things like grants.
But those are still, like, selective, and you can't rely on that to do it all.
And also, that seems to me like a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Rather than, like, solving the wider issue at the base, you slap on a little Band-Aid at the symptom rather than the cause, saying, like, oh, this person can't get into Berkeley, but they're smart, so we'll give them some money to do it. You could just make it not cost any money to begin with, so that people can get in. And you still have the same requirements of smartness to get in there, which, to an extent, as I said, isn't fair. You don't choose your intelligence, but at least it's one less unfair aspect.
Meritocracy is a myth.
Is there any issues with people believing in meritocracy that you want to talk about? What type of behavior does it result in? Like, do your parents believe in meritocracy?
Oh, well, actually, there was this video that I watched. I think it was a TED Talk, and they did this experiment. They had these college students, I think, like they all played Monopoly, and they gave certain students extra turns, and then some students just the regular amount of turns. And at the end, the students with extra turns obviously won because duh. And they asked them after the fact, like, so what do you think was the reason why you won this game? and almost none of them mention the extra turns. I think it just makes people out of touch and like inflates their ego.
Yeah, we want to take credit for these things.
Right. Like, you would think that would be such an obvious thing to be able to recognize. And, like, this just relates, obviously, to being aware of the privileges that you have, as whatever they may be. But just recognizing that they exist. Nothing is more annoying than people saying that white privilege isn't a thing because it so painfully obviously is. And we have to at least acknowledge and identify that the problem exists before we can do anything about it.
Yeah. Was it extra turns or extra starting cash?
Maybe it was both. Oh, or maybe it was like on every turn that they passed go, they got an extra amount compared to the other people when they passed
I don't know.
go. Almost
Oh.
none of them mentioned it as a
Right.
factor of why they won, which seems crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like this, the fact that you succeeded at something makes you forget all of the things that were beyond your control going into it. Where, yeah, you don't really want to dwell too hard on things that are beyond your control and form sort of like victim complex of like the world is out to get you, but like everything good that happened in your life, because it's simply not true. And then you form sort of like a superiority complex, I guess, of, well, other people should just...
I made it, why
Yeah.
can't they?
Right. And I think one thing I'd like to do is describe why a meritocracy, even if we could establish such a system, wouldn't work in the long run over generations. So if you imagine that we just got rid of all people's money right now and people were starting from scratch at zero, they all, do whatever they want, get educations, get jobs, and then some of them make more money than others based off of perhaps in the very first round, perhaps a certain amount of merit, that you could say. I would still argue against that because people don't make themselves in any capacity, but perhaps these people were more ambitious, and that's what we're saying is merit. So then you've got these people who are more successful. Group A is more successful than Group B. Now they have kids. Group A's children start off with more money, more wealth than Group B's children because of their prior success. So now the second generation of people that are in this meritocratic system, or supposedly meritocratic system, they're at an imbalance.
They're already reaping the benefits of their parents.
Right, just by being born. And they can go to schools that are nicer. How much that matters is up for debate. Well, the schooling itself on their intelligence might not matter so much, but the schooling certainly affects their connections and the people that they meet, and how likely they are to get investments, and
how much stress is in their life depending on how much money their family has.
Right. Yeah, and then all those sorts of conditions, and also like health factors. If the Group B doesn't have enough money and one of them's got some sort of condition, well, he's going to have to spend all their money on that condition rather than his the rest of his life success. So then over time you've got this effect of the group who is initially wealthy getting wealthier and wealthier over time, because it's just compounding each generation.
And it would happen so quickly as well.
Right.
Just like within the very second generation, there would already be benefits.
Yeah. And it does happen, and we call that old money.
Yeah.
It's like there's a reason that people who have made lots of money 100 years ago, their families continue to be the elite. So it's a delusion, I think. Meritocracy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that about covers what we're going to talk about today. Do you have a favorite book? Or a book you would recommend the audience reads?
Oh, no. I'd like to recommend a book about meritocracy since we just talked about it.
The Meritocracy Trap? Myth of Meritocracy?
There's the book called The Meritocracy Trap, and also the book called Success and Luck, The Myth of Meritocracy, but I can't remember the author for either.
Okay. Well,
but those are the titles. I tried.
Or search them. I shouldn't say Google them. I don't want to give them free advertising.
Oh, Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, I've talked about that a few times so far on this podcast.
That's another good one.
It is a good one. It's worth reading. And it doesn't deny the fact that you have to have put in effort to get successful. It just sheds light on the fact that a majority, or at least a large amount of your success, is not dependent on you. There are many factors at play, and not all of them are under your control.
Good books.
All right. Thank you for listening.
Bye.